Well, hello and welcome to the show. You know, we're starting a lot of colts on the ranch this spring. We always have a lot of colts to start, but I actually went and bought a bunch more this year just to get in shape and practice up for the upcoming Road to the Horse competition in March of 2020. So we're having a lot of fun with it. Last session on this colt, you watched us just get to where he's locked on good, following us around, letting us pet him, move off, he'll lock on to us. I believe that's a critically important part of colt starting. I believe you need to have that relationship. Today we're going to talk about sacking him out, getting him just where he's used to the parts and pieces of saddles and that kind of stuff. All of that's coming up right here on Discovering the Horseman Within.
Gonna take a ride on one true horse.
When I go back to this colt, if I've had a week or some time in between, I want to go back and actually remind him of what we did on the last segment. So I don't have to send him off and chase him around the pen. I just come over here and ask him to give to me his body. Pay attention to me, focus, and stay with me. As long as that's where he's at, we're good to go. But if he ignores me, then we'll send him off and let him go around the pen. Come over here, pet on him. There we go. Rub down his body. Pet on his head again. Come here, my friend. There we go. Step away from him. He started to leave and then he went, oh, this would be a bad idea, right? He remembered, that's what I'm looking for. Come back over here. Now this time, when I rub on his head, go up over his ears, I want to take my hand and kind of comfort his jawbone. I'm not going to hold him here. I'm just going to place him approach and retreat with his nose, with the rope, right here. Just take it up right over his ears, just like I would the bridle, over his neck. Sack him out. He's a gentle, quiet baby. He's been handled. This isn't going to scare him all that much. That's okay. We'll add to it here in a few minutes. But to start with, I don't want to scare him all that much, right? That's not my goal. I'm not trying to scare him. I'm trying to build his confidence. I remember the very first time I went to Road to the Horse. I was competing with Chris Cox, Tommy Garland, and Mike Kevel, and we had a lot of fun. My dad came down to me on the first day in just deep concern in his voice, and he said, Ken, you're in trouble. And I said, what do you mean, Dad? He said, you're not prepared. You're not prepared for this. I said, Dad, what are you talking about? He said, Ken, all of these guys have pickup loads and wheelbarrow loads full of obstacles and stuff to put in their round pen. You don't have anything. He said, give me the list of what you need. I'll run down to Lowe's right now and I'll buy it. And I told him, I said, Dad, that's not what I do. I don't use that stuff. I just use my rope, my saddle pad, and this old tarp I've got. Dad said, Ken, that's not realistic. I said, well, Dad, you're gonna have to trust me on this one. And so sure enough, we went through the whole colt starting scenario. And when we got to the finals, while I didn't win that event, my horse was the only horse that performed every single element required in that finals. Unfortunately, the judges didn't like some of what I'd done earlier, and that's okay. But regardless, my point was, you don't need a whole bunch of stuff. You need to pay attention to the horse. You need to watch him, and when he's trying, reward him. Teach him to try right now. That's what I want to do. I want to teach my horses to try so that no matter what, they learn. They can trust me and I can trust them. This rope's not bothering him a whole lot, so I'm going to take it here. I'm going to take the tail of it, run it down here around his front legs, right there. Let him feel that. Get him to give to the pressure of it. Right there, good. One step forward, one step forward. Look at that. Teach him to lead. We do a lot of this work when they're babies and we're halter breaking them, so this isn't brand new to him. Just take that right there, give that release, add that pressure, right there, give that release, Add that pressure. You know what this does for your horse? You're out riding through the sagebrush and you tangle in some wire, or you're in the thickets and you run into a blackberry vine, or your horse doesn't have you with him and he tangles into something. It teaches him to give to the pressure. And that's what I really want to do. I want to teach my horse to give to the pressure. Go up over his ears. I'm going to bring this rope right up around his belly now. We're going to cinch him up for the first time. We're going to pull this cinch up tight right here around his girth. Pull it up right here around his girth. I'm going to move it back to the back cinch. I'm going to pull that up tight. Then I'm going to move back here to his flanks. Now that's a ticklish area. So don't over tickle him. If you reach back here and jerk that up tight, you might have him kick and squeal like a little kid being tickled on the living room floor. So just take your time, build it up slow, add some pressure, release, add some pressure, release, add some pressure, release. Slip that rope down around those back legs and let him feel that. It makes him a little bit nervous. That's okay, just move it around, let him feel it. Let him feel that. That way, if you're riding him and he tangles in something, it's okay with him. He's been there before. Okay, now, when I get to this point, I like to hang my rope up right there because I might need it again, right? I might need that rope. And so what I see people do that's a real mistake is they take their rope and they go hang it up somewhere, or they put it out of the pen. That's a tool you're gonna need. Does it have to be a lariat? No, it can be an old lead rope. I don't care what you use, but that's your motivator, and it's real possible that you're gonna run into a reason to need that again. Now, what would I have done differently if this horse spooked over that rope? He didn't. What would I have done differently? If he spooked and bolted over that rope, I'd have just sent him off and worked him a little bit. That's not a big deal. I'd have just let him travel out away from me. As it is, he took it good, so I'm ready for the next tool. What I'm going to do is grab my saddle blanket, and I just use a double fold Navajo blanket. And what I like to do, I'll be honest with you, I don't like to use a new blanket when I'm doing this one. This one's been used a little bit, but not enough. I'm not superstitious, but I think a young horse smells all the horse smells on an old blanket and it helps them relax. On a new blanket, they smell wool, they smell the factory, they smell the shipping crates. They don't smell other horses, and it makes them more nervous. So I like to use an older blanket. I like to fold it up the size of a lariat. When I've got it to about the same size as my rope, I'm going to come back over here, run my hand under his jaw, and just play a little bit of approach and retreat, just like I did with that rope. Now right there, he says, no, Ken, I don't think so. That's okay, I'm gonna go with him. When he stops, pressure will go away. And it'll come back. There, it'll go away. It'll come back, but let's not get in a hurry to go too far with it, right? Right there. Good, rub that all over his body. Let him feel that. Now we're pretty quiet with this right now. We're not doing anything too wild or too insane. It's okay, walk away from him. Lots of walk away, let the pressure die off. Let him exhale and relax so that he understands what you're doing, okay? Then you're gonna go back and do the opposite side, same thing. You're gonna come back, approach and retreat. Take it away. Approach, retreat. Why do I take everything over his eyes, over his ears? Because that's where fear starts. Fear starts between his eyes and his ears and the brain. So let him see it all up front. You can blindfold this horse and do all kinds of things. Let him see it all up front. Let him feel that. Once you get that far, we're ready to start taking this pad and making it bigger. Once I've got the horse accepting the pad at its smallest, or the blanket at its smallest, I want to get it larger and let him see it. One of the things I like to do is approach the different side now. Last time I started on his left, which is his more comfortable side. So this time I'll come to his right. I take the blanket, a little bit bigger, take it up over his eyes, ears, rub it around. Now you'll notice each time the blanket gets bigger, I actually do a little more with it. As it gets bigger, instead of becoming more cautious, I actually do more with the blanket. Walk away from him, let him have that 2 seconds, come right back. Reach under there, soften his face, pick it up, go, oh, he says no dice. Bring him right back to me. Good, right there. Okay, all of a sudden he said no dice, Ken. That's all right. Approach and retreat a little bit. Back up over. There we go. You notice when we get back here, he doesn't really care. It's only at his eyes because fear is in there, right? Move it around. He's kind of backed up tight against this fence, but that's all right. We'll live with that for now. Come back out here. Let him see it get larger. Now, I started on the right. So I started with the first size on the left, then I went to the right, now I'm back to the left. Come back over here, right back to where we just were. Blanket's a size larger, kind of almost blindfolds him. Now, even more rambunctious with it. Flop it around, all over the place. Play with it a little bit. Set it up above his head, kind of up in the region I'm going to be in. Walk away. Give him that moment. How long? I don't care if it's 5 seconds or 10 seconds or a minute. It doesn't really matter. Just walk away. Don't stay gone so long that he forgets what you're doing. Come back, soften his face. Let him have that. There we go. Right up over top. There we go. Pet on him. Soften on him. Under his belly, around his front legs, back legs. Up where I'm going to be, where my head is. Right there. Up where my head's going to be. Let him see it get high. Good boy. Move it around fast. The more of this I do, the better. When it comes to sacking out, everybody knows I don't like the word desensitize. I think desensitize is the wrong concept. I understand what we're doing, but I think it's wrong. Because to desensitize would mean I would take all the sensitivity out of my horse. What do I want as a rider? Responsiveness. What is responsiveness? Sensitivity. So I don't want to desensitize. I don't want to do something until my horse looks like, oh gosh, I hate this. I'm so sick of this. I want to do it until I see he's accepted it and until I realize it's okay with him. And when I realize that, get away from him. Give him a break and come back and do something else. The reason I don't like the idea of desensitizing is because you can't desensitize him to everything. There's always going to be something he's never seen before. So to me, what's much more critical is to teach my horse to control his emotions. I want my horse to get to where he understands his emotions. Okay? Bring it out here. So I started right, went left, went right, left, back and forth. Now, I'm gonna make it get one size larger. I'm gonna go back and do it again. Come back up here to him, pet on him, love on him. Now this time, you're gonna see this work much more like a blindfold. Right over his whole head, right there. Oh, he almost had to leave. Love on him for a minute. If your horse has had a winter blanket on, which this one hasn't, but if your horse has had a winter blanket on, this would be no issue whatsoever. But again, throw it up there where your body's gonna be. Get it up there, it's tall. Get the whole thing right there. He just wanted to leave me. It came down, it hit my hat, made a funny noise. It scared him just a tiny bit. That's perfect. We're gonna go back to the same thing again. Same side. He says, Ken, I don't know. I don't know if this is a good idea. What if you don't know what you're doing? There's lots of people who have wondered that about me over the years. What if I don't know what I'm doing? There we go. Yeah, now one of the things I like to do with my saddle blanket is not drop it on the ground. But even that is perfect. Don't try to make the perfect environment for your young horse. Allow things to go wrong, okay? So what I wanted to do is come back over here, reach underneath his belly, and grab that blanket and cinch him up with it. Let him feel it. Let him know it's there. Walk away with it. He's still kind of back there against that fence, but that's okay. As long as he's staying there and staying confident, I'm all right. Take it to this side now. Good boy. Call him to me. There we go. Okay, if he's going to move around the pen, I'll move him around the pen and ask him again. Good. Don't be afraid of what might happen. Whatever it might be isn't going to be that big of a deal. Work through it. Take those opportunities where your horse makes little mistakes to build the relationship between you and him. This pad is no longer bothering him even remotely, right? The blanket rather. When the blanket's not bothering him, you're kind of done using it. Move on. You might need it. Put it where you're going to get to it. Go get your saddle pad. Okay? Now everything we've done, we've been real consistent with it. We want to keep that up. A lot of times I see people, as soon as they get their pad in their hand, they're like, well, it's heavy and it's bulky and it changes things. No, it doesn't. If that bothers him, he needs to move off, then we'll ask him again. Right back where we were. There we go. We'll go ahead and saddle him right here. All right, I go for a ride. Jump on. We've done the work it takes to prepare him for the saddle. What we've done is get him accustomed to things. When we go to sack him out with the saddle, we're gonna have to do a lot more. But we have the pieces ready. Do you need to do more? That's up to you. You can add more pieces. You can sack him out with a tarp. You can sack him out with a trash can full of pop cans. I don't care what you do. Use the same theory, the same process. This is how much I do to get my horse ready for the saddle. Thoroughness is being attentive to accuracy and detail. In short, it's finishing the job. It's going the whole way, right? I was 14 years old and I was given a job to dig an asparagus ditch. This ditch had to be 13 inches wide at the bottom, 15 inches wide at the top, and 14 inches deep for quite a length in pretty rough country. So I dug it and I had it pretty good. I measured my favorite spots and I went in and I told my boss, I said, I've got the ditch done. And she came out and it was about a 20-foot long ditch and she measured it. And it didn't measure up. And she came back to me and she said, young man, if it's worth doing right the first time. And I finished the ditch and I've never forgot the lesson. To be thorough is to finish what you started, right? And don't get easily discouraged. That can happen. You can start in on something and I'm never gonna make it. There's always a way. There's always a way. There's a great little book out. It's an old book, and it's called The Go-Getter. I encourage all of my employees to read it. It's an incredible story about finishing what you start. It's only about 57 small pages, very easy to read, but it changed my life. When I read that book, I realized, you know what? All I have to do is finish what I start, and there is a way. Be thorough. When you're at a roadblock, stop, sit down, figure out what do I need to do to finish this so that I can thoroughly be done with this job. When we want to do something, we want to go the whole way, right? Think about cleaning your stalls. If you walk in and clean half the stall, you might as well not clean the stall at all. You want the stall to be nice and clean and fresh when you're done. To finish a job honestly leaves you feeling so much better. When you have done everything, you've been complete. You've talked to your kids and told them, look, get the whole job done, not just part of it. But when you've been on the other side of that and you finish the job, you feel so much better for the effort you put in. So this colt's come a long way in this session. We've sacked him out with the rope, blanket, saddle pad. He's ready for the saddle, and that's gonna be next week, right here on Discovering the Horseman Within. And until then, may God bless the trails you ride.
Find out more about Ken McNabb horsemanship at kenmcnabb.com.
That one true horse, the perfect partner built